immediate ceasefire in the Israel. Good evening and welcome to the World News and VOP TV. I'm Kayla Abraham. First, the major stories. United Nations General Assembly votes to end ceasefire in Gaza. South Korea scrambles 6 Chinese-Russian aircraft fighter jets. UK, Japan, Italy sign contract to develop next-generation fighter jets. And Chinese Premier Qiang to attend World Economic Forum Summit. The news in details. The United Nations General Assembly has demanded an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war in an overwhelming vote on Tuesday that highlighted much of the world's desire to bring the bloody conflict to an end. About 3/4 of the body's members voted in favor of the non-binding resolution, underscoring the isolation of Israel and the U.S., which last week blocked a ceasefire resolution in the Security Council. The resolution was put forth by the UN's Arab Group and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which represents Arab and Muslim countries. Despite their support of the non-binding resolution, none of the 57 members of the Muslim organizations have offered Palestinian refugee status in their countries. More than 15,000 people, many of them women and children, have been killed in the Gaza Strip since Israel declared war on Hamas after the militant group launched a terrorist attack on October 7, killing more than 1,200 people and taking 240 other hostages. The countries that joined the U.S. and Israel in rejecting the ceasefire resolution were Austria, the Czech Republic, Guatemala, Liberia, Micronesia, Paraguay, Papua New Guinea, and Nauru. Among the countries that abstained were Britain, Hungary, South Sudan, and Germany. Now, British Foreign Secretary David Cameron says that those responsible for settler violence against Palestinians will be banned from entering Britain following a similar plan by the European Union. UN figures show daily settler attacks in the Israeli-occupied West Bank have more than doubled since the Palestinian militant group Hamas's deadly October 7 attack on Israel from Gaza. The British Foreign Secretary added that extremist settlers, by targeting and killing Palestinian civilians, are undermining security and stability for both Israelis and Palestinians. Mr. Cameron said Israel must take stronger actions to stop settler violence and hold the perpetrators accountable. He further stated that Britain is banning those responsible for settler violence from entering the UK to make sure the country cannot be a home for people who commit those intimidating acts. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom has signed an international treaty with Japan and Italy for a future combat air program to develop an innovative stealth fighter. The treaty will see the headquarters of the Global Combat Air Program, the defense partnership between the 3 countries based in Britain. It noted that the program aims to develop an innovative stealth fighter with supersonic capability and equipped with cutting-edge technology that will support future Indo-Pacific stability and wider global security. According to the ministry, the planned jet will have a powerful radar that can provide 10,000 times more data than current systems, providing a battle-winning advantage. Separately, the Defense Ministry announced that the UK's Carrier Strike Group will visit Japan as part of the 2025 Indo-Pacific development. An American suspected of faking his own death and hiding out in Scotland has lost an appeal against his extradition. U.S. prosecutors want Nicholas Rossi returned to his homeland to face rape charges in the state of Utah. Throughout the 2-year legal process, Rossi, who continues to insist he is actually a Thorn Knight, has claimed to be the victim of mistaken identity. Justice Secretary Angela Constance signed an order granting Rossi's extradition in September. Last week, he represented himself during a 5-hour appeal hearing before a panel of 3 senior judges. They have now issued a ruling that upheld the findings of the sheriff in the case. It concluded that nothing placed before the court demonstrates that any trial in Utah would be either unfair or that any of his other human rights will be violated if extradited. Rossi, 36-year-old, was being treated for COVID when he was arrested at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow on 13 December 2021. He had claimed that to have been the victim of mistaken identity and insisted he was an orphan from Ireland called Arthur Knight and that he had never been to the US. Up next, more stories after the break. Stay with us.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP This Morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews, politics and the economy, sports and even entertainment. Join us weekdays 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
A plan for Italy to send tens of thousands of asylum seekers to Albania for processing has been temporarily blocked by the Albanian Supreme Court. The top court ordered a hearing next month to decide whether the deal violates Albania's constitution. Under the agreement, the Italian government will build 2 centers in northern Albania to process 36,000 people, hoping to reach Italy a year. But the opposition in both countries and right groups have criticized it. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and her Albanian counterpart Edi Rama signed the agreement last month. Under the deal, some 3,000 people a month who had attempted to reach Italy by sea would be detained in 2 processing centers near the northeastern port of Qiang while their asylum claims were examined. The centers would be paid for by the Italian government and would be under Italian law. Italian staff would be responsible for operations and would have immunity from Albanian law in certain cases. Once migrants' asylum claims had been assessed, Italy will be responsible for either resettling them from the centers to Italy or deporting them. Albanian police will provide security outside the centers. 2 petitions from the Albanian opposition argued that the agreement will deny the asylum seekers the protection of the constitution and international law. And Danish authorities said they have foiled a planned major terror attack. Police said at a press conference today that 3 people were arrested in Denmark and 1 in the Netherlands during dawn raids today. Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said the threat was as serious as it gets. Authorities did not immediately disclose details of the alleged plot. They said they prevented, saying the investigation was ongoing. The 3 people arrested in Denmark will be charged with terror offenses. Police Inspector Flemming Dredger told reporters. He said an investigation had uncovered a transnational network of people preparing a terror attack with links to criminal gangs. Security around Jewish sites will be reinforced and police patrols in Copenhagen made more frequent. Former Copenhagen Police Deputy Inspector Jens Moller told reporters today that today's raids would have been coordinated down to the minute. Danish intelligence chief Anja Dalgaard Nielsen said the terror threat was linked to the Israel-Gaza war and burnings of the Quran in Denmark and neighboring Sweden. In 2015, 2 people were killed during an attack on a cultural center and a synagogue in Copenhagen. Earlier this month, EU Home Affairs Commissioner Ylva Johansson warned that Europe faced a huge risk of terrorist attack over the Christmas period. The terror threat in Denmark currently stands at level 4 out of 5, the second highest. If Ukraine is going to get any out of an EU leaders summit on Thursday, it will need the grudging backing of Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. But arriving in Brussels, he indicated he was opposed by Kiev's main aims. A symbolic invitation to Ukraine to start formal EU negotiation tops the agenda of the 2-day summit. Kiev is also hoping for 54 billion euro in EU funds to tie the Ukrainian economy through 2024 and a further 24 billion euro in military support. In a video message to Thursday's summit, President Volodymyr Zelensky told Europe's leaders that Ukraine had fulfilled every obligation they had required. EU leaders arriving at the summit said they were prepared for long and difficult discussions. Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo told reporters Russia's threat is real and he is ready to negotiate and have packed a lot of shirts. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said his country was fully supportive of Ukrainian accession to the EU and planned 15 billion aid package for Kiev. Even Slovakia's Robert Fico, who had halted military aid to Ukraine, said he would support opening talks to Kiev joining the EU. But Budapest could block everything Kiev is asking for, despite broad support from other EU leaders. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said peace with Ukraine will only take place when we achieve our objectives. He was fielding questions from journalists and ordinary Russians in his first marathon news conference since the new full-scale invasion of Ukraine began in February 2022. Much of the largely choreographed event focused on what he calls the special military operation in Ukraine. He insisted the situation was improving throughout the front line. The direct line program, televised for more than 4 hours by major channels, began with President Putin telling Russians that the existence of the country without sovereignty is impossible and it will simply not exist. He added that Russia's economy was strong for a time of war and the topic of conversation quickly moved to Ukraine. Putin said that there will be peace in Ukraine when they achieve the objectives. At one point, he revealed that Russia currently has a total of 617,000 troops fighting in Ukraine. He also claimed that on top of 300,000 people called up for service last year, another 486,000 have signed up voluntarily as contract soldiers. Up next are more stories after the break. Stay with us.
When your morning starts, make sure to look around for the right company to serve you everything you need to know about what's happening around you. That's why you need VOP This Morning, because we will climb this far to give you a voice in what's going on, from news, reviews, politics and the economy, sports and even entertainment. Join us weekdays 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. right here on VOP TV. VOP TV. Now you have more than a voice.
South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, JCS, has disclosed that the country has scrambled fighter jets on Thursday after at least 6 Chinese and Russian warplanes were seen entering its air defense zone. 2 Chinese and 4 Russian jets entered South Korea's air defense identification zone off its east coast beginning this morning. The Joint Chiefs of Staff also stated that the planes were detected before they entered the Cadiz, and it mobilized the Air Force's fighter jets in response. According to the military, the planes did not violate South Korea's territorial airspace, and it is not the first time that Russian and Chinese planes have jointly entered South Korea's air defense zone. Similar flights in 2019 led to a significant escalation of tensions, with South Korean jets firing hundreds of warning shots towards the Russian and Chinese jets conducting joint exercises. According to the International Civil Aviation Organization, an ADIZ is typically an area where countries can unilaterally require foreign aircraft to take specific measures to identify themselves. There are no international laws that govern these air defense zones, unlike a country's official airspace, which is the space above its territory and extends 12 nautical miles away from its coastline. Chinese Premier Li Qiang is planning to attend the World Economic Forum in Davos next month. 2 sources with direct knowledge of the matter stated so, leading a large and senior group of government officials to show Beijing is open for business. Li would be the most senior Chinese official to rub shoulders with the global business and political elite at the Swiss ski resort since President Xi Jinping attended in 2017. The sources stated that Li would be accompanied by an unusually large and senior delegation of high-level officials from ministries involved in the management of economic and foreign affairs. 15 Indian opposition MPs have been suspended after they protested against a security breach in the parliament. At least 4 people were arrested after 2 intruders shouted slogans and set off colored smoke inside parliament. Their motives remain unclear. The Federal Home Ministry has ordered an investigation into the incident. The security lapse occurred on the 22nd anniversary of a deadly attack on the parliament. A day after the breach, security was ramped up around the parliament building with barricades outside the complex to restrict entry. Both houses were adjourned after protests by opposition members of parliament who demanded a discussion on the incident and statements from the Prime Minister and the Home Minister. In the Rajya Sabha, the upper house of the parliament, opposition MP Derek O'Brien was suspended for ignoble conduct after he shouted slogans demanding a statement from Home Minister Amit Shah. In the Lok Sabha, the lower house, 14 members of parliament from opposition parties such as the Congress and Dradiva Montera Kazakam were suspended until 22 December when the session ends. Before the session was adjourned, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said in Parliament that the incident had been condemned by everyone. Singh said ruling and opposition members' parliament have to be careful about to whom they issue the passes to enter parliament. And to end the world news on VOP TV, these are the major stories we have read earlier. United Nations General Assembly votes to end ceasefire in Gaza. South Korea scrambles 6 Chinese-Russian aircraft fighter jets. UK, Japan, Italy sign contract to develop next-generation fighter jets. And Chinese Premier Li Qiang to attend World Economic Forum Summit. That's the end of the world news on VOP TV. I'm Kayla Abraham. Good evening.